All right, everyone, welcome to the March 18th meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority, being called to order at 3:08 p.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Authority member Ajinian.
Here.
Saturian.
Here.
Brotman.
Here.
Garpetian.
Here.
Najarian. Here. Parazian.
Here.
Cherkasakian.
Here. May we have your report?
The agenda for the March 18th, 2025 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on March 14, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right, there are no items on this agenda today other than approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Member Brotman and seconded by Member Parazian. May we have a quick roll call on that, please?
Authority member Ajinian.
Yes.
Asadrian.
Yes.
Brotman.
Yes.
Garpetian.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Parazian.
Yes.
Cherkasakian.
Yes, thank you. Next is oral communication. We have two speakers. It's Jay Ruiz and Herbert Milano. I'd like to ask them to make their way up to the podium, and as they come up, can you read the rules pertaining to oral communications?
Oral communications discussions is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and report.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ruiz, you'll have 5 minutes. If we can set our timer to 5 minutes. And Mr. Milano, you will be next.
Thank
You may begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Mayor and City Council, I'm here to ask you to put some items on the agenda that are much needed for our community. The relocation assistance for properties that have 3 to 4 units was removed in regards to substantial renovations. This is very important because it puts hardworking tenants at risk of not being able to find adequate and affordable housing. We would like to put this item on the agenda. It is much needed, as well as some other items, which is a right to lease, which will help protect tenants, okay, from basically, I would say it sometimes we have situations where we have bad actor landlords and they do not always hold true to the law, so to say. Another issue we're dealing with in regards to city and other people that I have spoken with is the retaliation when it comes to tenants exercising their legal rights. So one of the things with the relocation assistance, if I can go back to that, if you could please hear me out. We have approximately over 5,000 units that fall under the 3 to 4 unit properties, and about 3, I guess, to 4 individuals, tenants are in those units. And by removing that protection, we are putting at risk nearly 20,000 tenants, 20,000 renters. Each one of these renters matter, guys, okay? It's very important. I have some photos that I would like to show with the PowerPoint because not always are these renovations necessary. So I'm asking for a tighter protection that says in the ordinance that these renovations are necessary. This is a bathroom, fully remodeled from head to floor, from top to bottom, all the walls, tub, shower, everything, commode. But this particular bathroom, someone is saying, the landlord, that this needs a renovation. And there are other properties too. There's nothing wrong with it. Can we go to the next picture? There's a slide presentation. We have had windows all the way around our unit, a brand new HVAC system inside our unit. That's all recently. We're talking about within the last 2 to 3 years. So why, look at this, you can see the property, the flooring, wiring, ceiling fans, so why have certain tenants been eliminated from receiving the same protection as other renters that are in the city of Glendale? And then we have program 7B, which I have been addressing as well. It is an anti-displacement program that is supposed to help keep us housed. And Mayor Ellen, I look at you today and I say, I'm glad that you're in your position. You seem like to have such a great heart. And I just would really appreciate if you guys would revisit and get this back on the agenda. Dan Brotman has been the only one thus far from the council that has agreed to say we'll revisit. And plus, if these renovations are done, the tenants should be able to come back to their unit. These acts are supposed to be done in good faith. So what's keeping them from being in their unit or being able to return to their unit? These are some things that are very important. Now, had we had a lease or right to lease, which unfortunately that's another thing with properties 3 to 4 units, we are not given a right to a lease where other buildings and tenants are able to have a right to a lease. I would like a lease. I had a lease, and now all of a sudden, I don't have a lease anymore. But if the law says that you are required to at least offer, or the tenant has to ask, like in some cases, then guess what? We have more protections. So I'm not here to badmouth anyone. I'm just saying we all deserve a right to be able to live in peace. We all deserve a right to have a roof over our head and not have to wonder at night where we're going to live. Like Assemblyman, I heard Nick Schultz just say, every housing is a human right. So can I get your vote, please? I have a family. I'm sure a lot of you have families. My family is important. Your family is important. Look at these pictures. There's no need for this to be done. So I'm asking for you to please reconsider and put this back on in a right to counsel, because now some landlords are even cherry picking leases. And how can we really fight if we have very weak legs? It makes it practically impossible. We need help as renters in the city of Glendale, and I'm asking you to do what LA has done, moratorium on renovations.
Thank you,
No
Mr.
more renovations.
Thank you, Ms. Ruiz.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Milano.
Good afternoon, members of the Housing Authority, and Housing Chair. This couldn't be a more timely presentation for me, because as a landlord for 40 years, I fully agree with this lady. I also believe that units, fourplexes, triplexes, duplexes, they should all be included. There is no rationale to exclude tenants of the same rights that if they happen to live in a 5-unit or 6-unit, they get a right, but if they live in a fourplex, they don't. It makes complete sense. And if there is a situation where there are landlords who are doing things in bad faith, absolutely. We need an ordinance like this, and this is the topic of my presentation. We are lucky to have at least the rental rights program going, but I think it's weak, it's deficient. There are things that we can improve on it. And I have presented to you a document, 2 pages, where I listed 3 specific suggestions. And one of the suggestions that's in here is precisely what this lady has basically presented to you, that you should really reconsider the way it is being implemented, and maybe modify it. You know, every year on some of the major software programs that you get a new revision of the software continually. You're trying to improve something that was deficient or weak. And I feel the same way with regard to ordinances. They should be updated on an annual basis based upon what the data is telling you, right? Where are the complaints? And I get worried because I've had properties in the city of Los Angeles, and I know what it is to live under rent control. And it is absolutely awful for renters, it is awful for the industry, and it's awful for landlords. They've had it now for close to 50 years, and has it improved? Increased the number of properties? It really hasn't. There still continue to be a shortage. And so what I'm doing with this presentation is to try to persuade to you of the things that you can do at phase 1, which is very little work with regard to, it doesn't require a major initiative to create those suggestions that I made right here. And then with a little bit more effort, you can do this phase number 2. And number 3 is a little bit more complicated, maybe more costly to implement, but it's not something that is out of this world. It's basically, the last one is interactive self-service information that basically where you can actually get the information right away. But one of the points that you mentioned concerning a landlord using the excuse to renovate in order to move tenants out. In my experience, way back from the time that we started this whole process in 2002, is that it generally tends to occur during when the transition process from one landlord to the next. The new landlord makes a new investment, they want to recoup their investment, and they're going to look for any particular leverage in order to make it happen. And so I've been insisting, put the effort in the sales process. When that landlord is about to sell, or the inheritors, which is usually what happens, the owner dies, the children take over, and they say, you know, why keep this headache? Let's just sell it. But in the meantime, the tenants don't know about it. So in the whole process of selling the building and in the process of the acquisition, new landlords should know what the law is, especially if it's applicable to them. This way, the tenants are notified properly and they know what the actual rules are. And that doesn't take a hell of a lot of effort to basically ensure that this document be as part of the package of disclosures. The other suggestions are there, and I give it to you in earnest. I have thought about it. I talked to programmers on how to accomplish this. But some of the items on phase 1 are really simple. Do a proper statistical analysis. Make the right inferences of what you have. Collect the data and find out where the weaknesses are. We shouldn't have to wait for a tenant who's very concerned about her well-being to come before you so that these things can be improved. In my opinion, they should be improved internally by a self-evaluation. What is weak? What needs to be done? Who have we ignored? How many problems are there? And this process of analysis should be ongoing. I didn't come here to badger you on this. It's just that I think these are practical ideas that can work, and I'm suggesting for the Housing Authority to at least begin the process of implementing some of these suggestions. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. So that is all for oral communications, unless there's a caller.
Chair Kasakian, I do have a caller.
All right, then let's go to the lines.
Beth Brooks, you have 5 minutes. Beth,
Thank you.
go ahead.
I'm so glad to have heard the woman who spoke before, and I'm unfortunately telling that woman that I have come in front of the city council probably every week for months, and you will get nowhere. They don't care. You're not going to get help. And I'm going to tell you what's happening right now. I've been dealing with the Renters' Rights Program for 6 weeks because of an issue with my landlord regarding the ordinances, and I have gotten incredible help from the one person who seems to be the only person in that department who's able to do anything. He's all alone. He's just a young guy. His name is Andre Magarian. He's incredible. He's helped me so much. And I have learned so much that there are thousands of just the talking covered by the ordinances, the people who even are covered by the ordinances who have no clue what's going on. In my instance, I didn't know that given the fact that I was never offered a lease since 2020, when the ordinances went into effect first in 2019, that all of my rent increases are null and void. I am owed a refund for all of those increases paid based upon the base rent, which was the last legal rent. So we're talking going back to, 2020. I discussed with my landlord, who basically wanted to pull the wool over my eyes, and I'm not the kind of person whose eyes get the wool pulled over on them. About lying what an estoppel was. He wants me to sign something that I don't say anything to give my neighbors so they learn about it. He wants it so that I don't even talk to the Renters' Rights Program anymore because I CC them on an email. So this is talking about what landlords are doing. He basically, was just lying to me, but I knew because I have been down to the Renters' Rights Program in Glendale probably 10 times. And I've emailed Andre another 10 times. So So I know my rights, but I only know my rights because I'm a pushy person who actually went down there and said, what's happening in this? They have no enforcement with the renters' rights program. I know you shot that down in December 2024. You need a mediator. You need somebody legal in that department. You need to man that department up, because I intend to send out notices all over Glendale that people are probably in just thousands of dollars because they were never off the lease. And that's not even discussing rent relocation assistance, which my management knew nothing about. My management company knew nothing. And my previous management company knew nothing. Or it's more nefarious, and they decided to know nothing. People are owed money, lots of money, and people who can't afford to pay even higher rents now are eligible for rent relocation assistance, and they don't even know it, because the outreach from that department is almost nothing. And it's because it's only one poor guy who's doing everything. You need to get bodies in there. You need to have a renters commission. In the same way that you have a historic preservation committee, you need a renters commission of renters. We need to be heard. And we could be on the committee. You can have a landlords committee, but we need to be heard. You need to help people. There are thousands of dollars at stake now for renters in the city. And the only person helping us is one incredible body, the Renters' Rights Fund. So this needs to be fixed now. And I'm glad to hear people, because this is people who know that ordinances, the way it's written on the website is very clear. I had to go down 10 minutes to get clarification. Now I understand it, and I wrote it all down to my management. So this is really a nightmare, and I've been coming to you complaining that rental assistance, but this is a nightmare to me. And when the thousands of renters learn about this, it's not going to be pretty, and they're all going to bombard this poor guy at the renters, and you're going to have more bodies that we're going to discuss housing at the special meeting, but you need to have the department big time.
Thank you, Beth.
All right, any other callers?
Chair, there are no other callers.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Chair
Yes.
Kosaki?
go ahead.
Just, I have some questions, but I know it's not an agendized item. We can't get into a discussion now. I'd like to ask if we can put something on a future agenda to just have a discussion about some of these new ideas, some of the old things that we discussed when we updated the rental rights ordinance, a year ago or year and a half ago or whenever it was, I don't remember. But anyway, that would be my ask, if we could put something on the agenda so that we could actually have a discussion.
Sure, do you have any specific items in mind, or do you want to discuss it with staff to see what specific areas we bring back?
Yeah, that would be best if I
Okay,
discuss with staff and maybe come up with a few points that I'd like us to.
sure. I think that informational reports for this body, for the authority to understand what seems to be working. Obviously, we've heard from residents that with some issues that point out to some things that may not be working. I think that's well warranted. And I do believe that it's important for us to have good data to work off of so we can make good policy. Anyone else wish to make comments? Yes.
I think
Mayor.
this would be a good time to ask. I know I had brought up us looking at recreating or reopening the fund for rent relief, and it's supposed to be on staff's docket. I'm trying to find out is that going to be a separate report, or are you going to be presenting that during the budget session?
Madam Mayor, members of City Council, Chair Kasaki, members of the Housing Authority, my plan was to include it with the rest of the stuff on items on the docket during the budget process. But if it's council's desire, we can combine these two after we've had an opportunity to sit down with Councilmember Brotman and we can combine the two. That could be one of the items if that's council's direction to bring back.
I think in all fairness to the entire body versus just sitting down with one member of the authority, I know Mr. Brotman has his issues, but perhaps have Mr. Zovac and yourself reach out to authority members, and there may be a whole list of things that people would want to get more information on and where we stand. Obviously, the program Ms. Asatrian Mayor referenced is one. You know, I would like to know, I don't know if this is something that you could bring up or not, but I personally have supported the creation of a landlord-tenant committee. I know that we didn't move forward with that, but that's something that perhaps may warrant revisiting as well. Anyone else have any comments?
Authority Chair Kasakian, the item for the rent relief was already on the docket, so I don't know how long this process is going to take, but if the budget session would end up being before this report comes, I don't want to delay an opportunity for us to look at that during the budget session in order to wait for a report that comes through after.
Right?
And if I might, I would second that and simply say, I think the thing that should come back to us would be something that would be an informational, like you said, so we can just get all of our questions out, and we can talk about it, but and then decide after that, like, do we want to give direction to come back with an actual, set of action items? I agree that this idea of a rental subsidy program, which we had once, right? We terminated it. We talked about bringing it back in some form. I think that's already in the pipeline. So I agree that should, that's an actionable item. It should come back to us separate from this informational discussion.
Are we talking about the $300 a month that we used to have?
that
Yeah,
is.
so I don't know what the new
Yeah,
program would
because-
look like, but I was
Yeah,
just
we
looking
had
for
a
us to.
program that from Measure S funding, we allocated $300 a month for, I believe, 1,000 families every month. And somehow that program was,
It had a sunset
discontinued.
period.
It had
and
a sunset,
sunsetted and
yeah.
was not renewed.
somehow, but it
Was
had
not being,
sunset.
okay.
Mayor and council members, we have a memo that we can recirculate that had some alternatives and options in there to replace that subsidy program. I would recommend if we send that back out, if you would like to look at that and see if maybe there were some recommendations or suggestions that we could focus that conversation on, so it's not quite as open-ended.
All right,
We
I
can get your
think, I
feedback.
think that'll be welcomed, and let's not get too deeper into this, not because it's not important, but because it hasn't been agendized, and we don't want to have a whole full discussion on the item. So if there's no other comments, if any other members wish to weigh in on anything else? Okay. Was there? Okay, I thought, Mr. Galanian, you keep pointing. Oh, Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have one item of closed session business we'd like to add to the agenda.
Okay.
It was something the Housing Authority's been discussing for the last few weeks. Something is
We need a motion
Vote.
to add something.
motion to add, and just, I'll read the motion, and then someone
Okay.
can make it, that the Housing Authority finds that there's an immediate need to take action on an item that arose after the posting of the agenda for the March 18, 2025 regular meeting. The item in question involves the need to discuss legal action which the city may need to initiate in Los Angeles Superior Court. The matter needs to be discussed immediately, and direction and authorization, if given, needs to be given to the city attorney prior to the next regular meeting on April 1, 2025.
Who would like to make that motion?
Second.
Okay, moved by Mayor Asatryan, seconded by Member Garpetian. Let's have roll call, please.
Authority Member Ajinian,
Yes.
Asadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Barazian,
Yes.
Chair Kasakian.
Yes. And so with nothing else on the agenda, we will recess to close session. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Madam Mayor, we'd prefer to recess now on that closed session and come back and
Okay.
hear the second item,
All right,
the
so
special meeting, if that's okay.
it's up to mayor's discretion. I have no issue with it, but
I think
Just read it into the record and then.
we could, but then Mr. Ginny and Ms. Peraza have to wait around until you get to the second item. And that could be a lengthy item, so we think this. will-
Okay, all
so
right.
let's recess, and perhaps, is it all right if we convene here? You?
Apologies,
Okay.
we have outside counsel coming in.
Okay, all right. We will be back. Opposed?
Yeah.
All right, we are back. Housing Authority has reconvened from our recess and closed session discussion, and there is an item to report out. Correct, Mr. Garcia?
Correct.
Okay.
And I will make the motion, if I may. I move that the city attorney, with the assistance of outside counsel, is authorized to initiate a legal action in Los Angeles Superior Court. The names of the defendants and other particulars shall be disclosable upon the filing and service of said action upon the defendant. City attorney is further authorized to incur any and all expenses necessary in connection with said matter.
Second.
All right, moved by Member Brotman, seconded by Member Najarian. And let's have a roll call, please.
Authority Member Ajinian,
Yes.
Asadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian,
Yes.
Chair Kasakian.
Yes. All right, since there are no other items, we will adjourn this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.